As you can imagine, a lot of practical things have to happen in order for connections to work. It doesn't just happen. First and foremost, risk assessments need to be carried out before you start, and these need to be reviewed annually. With so much going on at Connections, it's really helpful to organise rotas for who is doing what in advance. Everything from who's baking cakes, who's welcoming guests, who's delivering the thought for the day, etc. The list goes on. And then, of course, there is the setup. All the chairs and tables moved the day before and the clearing away afterwards. The team helping here are essential. Our helpers also receive training. Some of it's practical, like fire safety, evacuation procedures and first aid. Ideally, fire training should happen annually with at least 1 or 2 designated fire officers at each session. Several team members also need to attend first aid training every 3 years, and if your church has a defibrillator, it's really important that a good number of your team receive annual training on how to use it. There's also the very practical area of lifting and handling, how to help someone safely in and out of a car or a chair, for example, or even just how to move chairs and tables without injuring backs. And these things can be taught by a physio, an OT, or someone trained in safe moving and handling. But much of our training is centred around people, things like listening skills, dementia awareness, caring for carers and bereavement support. Pretty much everyone who comes to Connections has experienced loss, so having a team who are gently confident about coming alongside someone who's grieving is so important. We've also loved building relationships with those who offer this training, our local police or council staff and other organisations. It's just so lovely seeing the wider community coming together. Safeguarding is absolutely essential, of course, and I'd really encourage you to speak with your local diocese or safeguarding lead for specific guidance for your own setting. For us, all Connections team members complete safeguarding training every 3 years. We also use a simple code of conduct or role description forms for our team. Nothing overly formal, but just enough to outline expectations, boundaries, next of kin details, and where appropriate, references. This is especially helpful for those driving or doing any one-to-one pastoral support who also need to be DBS checked. Far from being a burden, safeguarding is actually an act of love. It protects our guests, our volunteers, and the integrity of Connections. Organising transport is a big task, but absolutely vital. If we want to reach those who are most isolated and can't get out themselves, we do sometimes need to go the extra mile, quite literally, to help them get there. We have volunteer drivers, all DBS checked and trained in safeguarding, as I've mentioned. We have also used a wheelchair accessible minibus through our local council, which was wonderful for our more vulnerable guests, though we've recently had to stop due to the cost. But I would really recommend that you explore this option because it may well be worth it for your setting. Accessibility within sessions is also crucial. Whatever your venue, church, care home, community hall, even a pub, just think, can people see? Can they hear okay? Can they move around easily? Are they warm enough? Do they feel comfortable? So a few practical tips. Ensure that there are wheelchair accessible tables and suitable chairs, some with arms, which can be really helpful. Do you have a wheelchair accessible bathroom? Allow adequate space to enable people to move around safely. Use microphones and speakers in larger groups and ideally have a hearing aid loop. Use large print wherever possible, whether that's for leaflets, notices, and maybe keep a few large print Bibles available. Projecting words onto a large screen can be helpful if you have a large group and if you have access to a large screen. And a slightly random but very helpful tip, use sticky name labels with first names written in thick black felt tip pen, all capital letters. We always use these for everyone. I don't know about you, but I struggle with remembering everyone's names, and my eyesight isn't the best, and I'm not yet 95 years old. So this all really comes down to meeting people where they're at. At Connections, we serve coffee, tea, and homemade cakes, but do serve whatever is culturally appropriate for your group and for the time of day that you meet. We meet from 10 o'clock in the morning to about 11:30, as this seems to work best for our guests and allows them plenty of time to get home for lunch. Again, in terms of decorations and aesthetics, it may not seem the most important thing, but having thoughtful touches such as, pretty tablecloths, flowers even from somebody's garden, warm lighting, etc., really helps people feel valued and special. These things don't need to be flashy or over the top. They just need to reflect generous hospitality and kindness, whatever your setting. When people feel valued and loved, they begin to trust. They begin to wonder why this group feels so different. And that's when we can gently share the hope and love of Jesus.